So while everyone's arriving and getting settled, I just wanted to say a quick, big thank you to our Gen Z advisors for all of their work and their love and just their passion in bringing together this zine. And so we are so thrilled to have you all with us this evening. And my name is Bonita Eloise Ford. I am Climate Mental Health Network's Gen Z lead. And so for folks who are not familiar with CMHN, we are a collective of dedicated community advocates focusing on fostering mental well-being by reshaping our national dialogue and actions about the emotional impacts of the climate crisis. And so, again, on behalf of CMHN and our Gen Z advisors, I am so thrilled to have all of you here this evening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this launch. And also a special thanks to Lush, to Lululemon, and to Earth Rising Foundation for their generous support in making possible the work of our advisory board and our Gen Z programming, which has included the creation of this scene in the past year. So just so happy to have you all with us. And I'm going to pass it over to Zoharia, who is also going to be helping lead us through the evening.
Hello, my name is Zoharia. I use she, her pronouns, and I am from Chicago. I um, and I would like to introduce everyone. Um, so we have a bunch of Gen Z advisors here. I'm just going to name everyone first, and then we'll move on to the first activity. So we have Olivia, Zion, Laurel, Via, Rhea, Madigan, Natalie, um, and we also have, who else am I forgetting? That's not directly in front of me, I'm not sure. We have a lot of people. And so the first person that is going to start today is Olivia with a tour of the zine.
Thank you, Zaharia. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that everyone could join us tonight. My name is Olivia. I am a climate activist based in New York, and I am one of the co-founders of Climate Cafe NYC, which is a group that puts on regular climate cafes in New York City. So if you're in the area, you should come check out our stuff. Yeah, I would love to walk everyone through our zine tonight, and we're going to get into some more detail on some specific and workflows that are within the zine. I'm just trying to share my screen. So we've been working on the zine for the past year. It's a partnership, like Zaharia and Bonita mentioned, that we've all been contributing different pieces of work based on our individual skill sets, our experiences, and we hope that within all of the content that we have put together so lovingly, that there's something that might speak to you wherever you're at. And we designed the zine to be kind of like a process-oriented structure. So starting off with like some broader helpful feeling identification activities and like, wow, I feel overwhelmed. Where do I start? And then narrowing down into like kind of working through how you're feeling, some activities that might help you connect both with how you're feeling and also others in the community who might be feeling that same way. And this is the beautiful zine in her gorgeous full self. You can find in this zine more information both about CMHN and about the contributors who have published work in this zine. And the zine is meant to be very interactive. So we hope that this can be kind of like a balm and a workbook at the same time. We've got activities in here that kind of touch on a lot of different methods of processing. If there's one that might feel more familiar or easy to you, reading, writing, some journaling activities. We have a wonderful music contribution from Laurel. We have some social activities that you're encouraged to engage with people in your community. And of course, art, nature, very thematic. and some just general like inspiration and healing content too. So here you can see the overview of everything that's included. And like I mentioned, this idea of starting off at the largest bottleneck, we've put together, Natalie specifically has contributed this wonderful compilation of resources if this might be your first real substantive step in trying to engage with your climate distress. So thinking about the different ways that you can learn more and become more engaged through literature, art, socially. And I would like to also point out that all of the photos you see here in the zine were contributions from the individual members. So we focused on shots that felt very relaxing and embodying that we all had from different excursions into nature. So I personally am very excited to see some of the photos that I've taken, just like of pretty flowers and stuff, like side by side work that is really meaningful. And after each piece, this just being the example from Natalie, you can find, like I mentioned, some information about the author and also a journal reflection and an action tip. And we put these together to help give you an idea of a jumping off point after you had the opportunity to digest the content. Our hope with this zine is that it can be both helpful to you as you work through the complex emotions related to the climate crisis. It can be a small and like kind of easily shareable way to get others excited and kind of educated about what is climate mental health. Zines historically have been a great way to share information that's not presented in a lot of like traditional structures, something that you might not learn in class, but that is really important to know as like a person alive at this time. All of us Gen Z advisors can attest to the idea that like, yeah, like this is a necessary component of being a young person at this moment in the planet's history. So we're hopeful that this can also help you share that information with people that you love and care about. Also, if you are somebody who is not Gen Z, but is interacting regularly with folks in the age range, we're hopeful that this can help you both like feel resourced yourself and also resource the people in your life if you are looking for ways to engage with young people on the climate crisis. This is Oharia's contribution about writing waka poems that I just scrolled through. They're very beautiful and calming. And I would encourage you to write some of your own. Zion contributed a piece about how the climate crisis impacts African American communities. And this is one of the contributions in the zine that actually breaks down our journaling prompt into two different ones. So for folks who are African American and for non-African American folks to both contribute in ways that reflect how we're all impacted in different kind of like intersections of this crisis. So I would encourage you to check that out as well. We wanted to make sure that we had a bunch of different perspectives here as much as we could. This is the music I mentioned from Laurel, who's also, I'm sure she'll mention later, an accomplished filmmaker. You should check out some of her work. It's wonderful. And yeah, so next, this is our largest visual piece from Via, who's going to talk more about it later on today. But you'll see we have two really large, or I guess this is just one centerfold piece, a work of art that she did that is actually, I think it's this one, Via, but is hanging in an art gallery right now, which is a very exciting milestone. And we wanted to make sure that this piece was large enough for viewers to appreciate it in entirety. And then of course, accompanying artist statement about the piece and about Via's experience as an activist based in Minnesota, or sorry, Montana, wrong M state. Yeah, there's a bit of all of us in this zine, and we hope that you feel that through our contributions. Another thing too to mention is that Danielle and Zion, sorry, not Zion, Danielle and Rhea both contributed formatting and InDesign help here, which was absolutely essential. We had a ton of different contributions in different formats and types of text. So really thankful for them to help us knit it all together in a way that was really cohesive and exciting to look at the final product. we're coming up, I believe, on Madian's piece here, which is a sample diary entry basically about, the climate crisis and how it's impacting her. This is something that I can certainly relate to. I think journaling has been a really essential practice for me. Hopefully this piece and the others in the zine, we pick that practice up as well, if you don't already have it included. Here is my contribution, actually. It's why you should go to a climate cafe and what climate cafes are. And here's a lovely photo of a flower that I took. You can find more information on what climate cafes are. And honestly, our little discussion group today kind of mimic in a lot of ways what a climate cafe feels like, which is like a gathering of peers to talk about how you're feeling about this crisis. And of course, to some action tips and journal reflections, as is the case throughout the entire zine. At the ending, you can find out more about, like I mentioned, design contributions of Rhea and Danielle. And of course, more about CMHN and some of the resources that they have. Bonita had the Climate Emotions Wheel up at the beginning of our call today. It's a really helpful resource and identify the feelings that you're having about the climate crisis, as well as some additional resources that you can access on their website here. But yeah, this is really excited to show the zine to the world and to get more into each section throughout the course of tonight.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Saharia, could you introduce the next person, please?
Yes, so next we have Laurel, who, as you guys saw, put together a really cool playlist, and she's going to be talking about that and maybe playing some music.
Yes, exactly what I'll be doing. Hi, everyone. I'm Laurel Tamayo, and I was born and raised in Hawaii and now live in Los Angeles. And I work on projects that are focused on solving climate change using film and TV. I also love bird watching, and so the photos of the birds in the zine are from some of my bird watching trips in SoCal. And in terms of music, it's always been my refuge, helping me navigate big emotions from grief to gratitude. And I also just listen to music almost all the time, like when I'm doing work, probably shouldn't be doing that. When I'm cooking, when I'm walking, etc. And so I found myself wanting a playlist crafted by people who, like me, deeply care about climate change and experience overwhelming emotions when thinking about the future of our planet. And so these songs came together when I asked others to share a song that helps you feel grounded when you're uneasy about climate change or the future. And so each song has different themes, and some reminded me of the destruction that's happening, and others reminded me to be optimistic and to be grateful for every little thing that we have. And they all made me feel less alone, especially knowing that it was curated by other people who also cared about the earth and are doing things actively to protect it. And so it's an hour and a half playlist, but I'm now going to play a song called Power in Us. And you can turn off your video for now and just listen to it if you'd like. And then I'll ask you later to share your thoughts on it. So I'll do that right now.
The voices try, but we drown them out. Can we hear the earth, or are we too loud? Silence now. Can you hear the earth? The ocean's crying, and the mountains aren't heard. There's power in us, we call it darkness, we call it love. There's power in love, we call it nature, we call it us. The voices try, but we drown them out. faces, so many words. They cloud our vision, and we get lost in their words. There's power in us, we call it nature, we call it love. There's power in love, but we hear darkness, we hear us. So why are we waiting to find the time when even angels can't stay? Haven't you noticed when we don't listen, we don't change? So why are we waiting to find a time when even angels can't stay? Haven't you noticed when we don't listen, we don't change? There's so much change to be made. Their voices try, but we drown them out. Can we hear the earth, or are we too loud?
Now I have to figure out how to stop sharing my computers. Okay, there. Oh, I remember the first time I listened to that song, I cried because this was actually recommended by someone when I put the ask out for song recommendations. And yeah, so I'd love to hear how everyone else is feeling, and if you could just drop your thoughts in the chat. And then I also just wanted to say thank you to Olivia, Via, Stevie, Zaharia, Amanda, Lena, Ria, Connor, Sean, and Val, to name a few people who shared their song recommendations for this playlist. And I will now pass it back to Zaharia.
Beautiful. It's gonna give one more second just to let that sink in. Sometimes the sound that happens after you listen to a beautiful piece of music is almost like just as powerful as the music too, because it's the sound that you fill with your own intentions and reflection.
And
So
some of the sharing that's coming back through the chat. So gorgeous, moving. I got chills. Made me cry. Beautiful song, very moving. In a good way, but I'm still crying. Yeah. Beautiful song. Beautiful. I loved listening to this in a community setting as well. I love the piano. I've never had a group listening session like this before. This was interesting and healing. So thank you everyone for sharing. Thank you, Laurel.
yeah. All right. So yes, again, thank you, Laurel. And we're gonna move on to Via, who is going to show us a little bit of her art and lead us through an exercise. And I can't wait because she's an awesome artist.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Um, I yeah, you'll see my little doodles on every single page, which is really exciting. I had so much fun doodling and making art for this. Art just the way like Laurel is talking about music being her refuge. Art is my solace. It's where I don't know, it's how I can communicate my emotions, but also it adds a little, I don't know, joy and peace in the day to engage in art and engage in creation. And so the painting that I have today, I made when I was 16, and I did not know. I didn't have my words. I did not have words to describe my climate emotions at all at this point. I remember being in this room and like crying with a bunch of people, but I didn't understand what climate emotions really were because I didn't have the language to describe it. And I think that that's one of the powers of the climate emotions wheel is giving you, like, we have these emotions, we have these feelings, but giving language and giving language to this issue is just so powerful. And so this was mine before I had language to describe it. And this is Gaia. It's also kind of a self-portrait because I can't make anything that isn't. I don't know why. But this was like the visceral pain that I was feeling, and also I could just like sense that Mother Nature is also feeling this pain and this sadness. And then this is Grandmother Moon in the corner. And my grandmother is a really important person to me. I love her so much. And um, she shines down on us always. And then my flowers are or the orange glow is the world is literally on fire, and like you're crying and you're screaming, and like the water can't put out the fire. Um, and then we have these little flowers overcoming the entire canvas because um, we create hope. We find hope. We make hope. Hope isn't something that's given to us. It's something that we fight for. It's something that we work for. I've been saying recently, like, my hope has claws. Hope is our weapon, and hope is how we can engage in this. But it's hope that isn't I don't know, like hope is something that you work for. Hope isn't something that is just given to you. And it's really, really, really hard to have hope in these times. And this was my painting about climate despair, and despair is the complete and utter lack of hope. And this is, I don't know, it's hopeful and sad at the same time because I feel like climate change we're in these dual emotions always. And so for our little like activity that we're gonna do is I want you to think about your dual emotions, and I want you to think about, it can be an abstract drawing, it can be it could be like literal, like your favorite place, something like that, and just think about your dual emotions, like how you have so much love and so much hope for this planet, and how you also were feeling anger and sadness, and tap into these dualities and um, draw whatever you feel like. I don't want to give anybody too much, so it can be abstract, it can be I'm really, really, really into art for art's sake, and making sure that you're making art just to make art and not necessarily art to be good. Like, it's okay for this to be bad because this is just a silly little, not a silly little doodle, but it's a doodle. And yeah, so think about your dual nature in your drawing. Okay, I'm going to I would love if you guys continue working on this. Because I think that art is really fun to just do while you're listening to a talk. But I'm going, for time's sake, I'm going to have us move on from this section. And thank you for listening to me. And I'm going to hand the reins back over to Zoharia.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Via, and for guiding us through that. Um, all right. And then the next activity that we're going to do, or the next Gen Z advisor that's going to speak, is Ria. And she's going to be talking a little bit about her entry. So let's turn it over to Ria.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Priya. I am 20 years old, so I'm still in college. And yeah, so a lot of my Zine piece was about my experience getting into environmentalism, how my upbringing influenced that, how being the daughter of immigrants really influenced the way that I feel and a lot of the grief that I feel. And so my Zine piece will be a lot about that and just the grief and making space for that grief because it's really easy in daily life to just go, 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 meet your goals, kind of like do the immediate next thing that you need to do and not take that time for yourself to just like feel how you're feeling. That happened to me recently and I just like boiled over and it was not very pretty. And so my piece, I hope, is allows everyone to feel seen and to allow for you to be okay with this grief and coexist with this grief because grief can at the end of the day be like help us drive change. And yeah, grief is a part of us like joy is also a part of us. And like Via mentioned, this whole idea of duels is also like what my piece hinges on. So yeah, I will share my screen and read my reflections and then we're gonna go into an activity. Okay, cool. So my road to becoming an environmental justice activist was not a straightforward one. However, it ultimately began with spending time with nature and the beliefs taught to me. I was taught that we must offer gratitude and protection to the earth as she sustains us. I love the earth, and I'm sure you do too. That's why you're here. And I'm the daughter of two Indian American immigrants, and this is a part of my identity that has informed the majority of my activism. My parents came to the United States to seek better opportunities for themselves and us. And hearing a lot about the uncertainty of tomorrow, for example, like climate doomism and things like that, has left me feeling like I can never do justice to my parents' sacrifice and their belief in the American dream. Originating from a country in the global south where the effects of climate change are nothing like what we've seen before has left me unable to visit my grandparents, my relatives, and to see the culture and heritage that came before me. It's like a sustained heartbreak every day, over and over again. A lot of this scene has been incredibly inspirational, and I hope that all of you guys take a look at every single page. A lot of the Gen Z advisors poured a lot of themselves and a lot of hope into every single page. So I hope you are able to like really soak all that in. And this piece was meant to be a love letter to those experiencing a similar heartbreak to me. So I hope to those of you who may not have made the time to feel this grief can allow yourself to do so. And I hope you feel seen by this piece and know that you're not alone because that's something that I really struggled with. Yeah, so I'll give a moment of silence just so that people can take it all in and then we'll go to the journal reflection. Okay, cool. The moment has passed. And so now I'd like all of us to journal. Journaling is something that has really helped me. It's something my therapist recommended and has completely changed my life. So I don't keep things all bottled up inside me. And so I would like everyone to take the time to take a step back and breathe. And just remember that we can make space for ourselves, take care of ourselves, and think about the things that you've lost due to climate change and focus on this loss. How does it make you feel? Journal about it and think about those who in your support circle you can talk to about the sense of loss because it's important to grieve, but it's also important to grieve together. So I'm just going to give a couple of moments for that, maybe like 1 to 2 minutes. And then, yeah, we can maybe like the Gen Z advisors, or we can share in the chat about what are some things that you've lost. So it's okay to keep journaling, but if you have something, I invite you to unmute and share if you're comfortable, or you can share in the chat about what you journaled about and how this grief kind of makes you feel.
I want kids, and I don't know if I can have them and feel like a responsible person. Uh, Not just because of like their carbon emissions, because what does it mean to bring a kid into the world when the future is so uncertain, tinged dark?
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Ina. I think it's a really hard question. I think like becoming a parent is like a decision that is a really big one, but also like the implications of that decision is something that shows you're an incredibly empathetic human being and that you really look out and care for those around you. And so, yeah, I share similar concerns, and yeah, so just know that you're not alone. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the thing that, and I apologize if y'all can't hear me, but the thing that when you were talking about loss, if I think emotional loss is something that's also quite pertinent to experiencing climate disaster, losing your sense of security, losing your sense of feeling safe where you live. I'm from Augusta, but and we weren't severely impacted by Hurricane Helene. But the very first night that my mother went through that, for example, it was absolutely terrifying for her. For the very first time in her life, you realize you can actually, you could be impacted by this. And it was really a sense of you could potentially lose your life in a disaster situation like this. And that's been very hard to shake for her. And she still talks about it to me to this day. It's been, that was back in October, and it still shook up a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I know disasters can be really hard. It's like a life-changing event. You can sometimes lose friends, you can lose family, and that fear never really goes away. And I relate to that, maybe not in the climate disaster sense, but I recently experienced a lot of loss in my life. And so I really understand like that fear of like not knowing what's going to happen and not knowing what's going to happen to your loved ones. So you really bring up a great point, and thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that with us in the group. Yeah, and if anyone wants to contribute, we have like 1 minute left before we like go out, and I hand back the reins to Zoharia. So yeah, but thank you everyone for sharing your experiences with us and in the chat as well. And I hope that sharing has been, or speaking out aloud has been a little bit healing, and that these 10 minutes have been able to encourage you to take some time for yourself as well.
Yeah. And actually, we're the next activity we're moving into our breakout groups. So you'll be able to meet with smaller groups, in smaller groups, to discuss some of these themes a little bit more. So if you're not feeling, um, if you were not feeling, confident enough or hadn't fully formed your ideas to say something now, we will have the opportunity very shortly to be able to talk about this a little bit more. So
Could you introduce our five breakout group
yes,
facilitators?
yes. So our breakout group leaders are going to be Zion, Natalie, Madigan, Olivia, and Ria. So you guys have already met Olivia and Ria. And then you guys, whoever gets is so lucky we'll also get a chance to talk a little bit more with Zion, Natalie, and Madigan, some of our other Gen Z advisors.
Amazing, thank you. So I'm just setting up the breakout groups, and yeah, we look forward to having a little bit more personal conversation. All right. So we'll be in the breakouts for about just a little bit over 10 minutes. To the folks who are watching the recording, we invite you to take some time now, if you want to, just to do a little bit of journaling about what climate emotions you struggle with, what you do for self-care, and also how you engage in climate action with others. Welcome back, everyone. So thank you for participating and being part of this discussion, being part of this exploration together. So as we're coming into the end of our workshop, I'm just going to lead us in a guided self-connection exercise. And so I just invite you to get comfy for a moment and either close your eyes or just have a gentle gaze. And just bring your attention to yourself, your inner space. And just ask yourself, notice in this moment what you're feeling. And it might be a whole mix of different emotions. And just with curiosity, just see if you can name one or two of those emotions that are present with you right now for yourself. And then gently bringing your attention to your breath. Noticing the quality of the breath as it comes into the belly, into the chest, and as the breath leaves the chest and the belly. And just notice how your body is feeling in this moment, without any judgment. Noticing what sensations may be present for you. And with whatever climate emotions may be bubbling in your being right now, what physical sensations accompany them in your body? What do you notice? And just inviting with the breath, breathing in, imagining breathing in compassion and gentleness. And with the breath, just surrounding our emotions and our physical sensations with a sense of softness, with a sense of compassion, and with a little bit more acceptance and a little bit more presence. And then just shaking it out. Just giving ourselves permission to stretch or imagining doing so. Just giving some movement. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Just letting the body, inviting the body to move out this energy. Or again, just doing that with the imagination, imagining being like a dog shaking off when they come out of a bath. Or imagining just being a cat, stretching. And then slowly coming into stillness. And just with the breath, breathing in softly and slowly, and letting out a sigh. And taking 2 more breaths like that. Just filling the belly and the chest softly and slowly. And letting out a sigh. And one more in your own time. So thank you so, so very much to everyone. Just huge thanks again to our Gen Z advisors for all of their work and all of their love in creating the zine and bringing the zine into the world. And I am thrilled to share the link to the zine in the chat. So for those who are watching the recording, you will get this a little later. And yeah, just so excited for this beautiful creation to be out there in the world. And hopefully you can share this with your communities as well. And we also want to invite folks to help us, to really actively help us put this out there. And so if you want to print out the cover of the zine and take a selfie with it and tag CMHN on social media, or if you want to hold it up on a tablet and have someone take a photo of you and again tag CMHN, that would be fabulous because we would love to see where you are reading your zine, who you're sharing with, how you're using it. We'd love to see your faces and we'd love to hear your feedback on all of this. And finally, I really want to encourage folks to use the zine to explore the zine in a participatory way. And so as folks have mentioned as we're going through it, each of the zine entries has a journal reflection, has an action tip. And so we really, really hope that this can be an experiential journey for everyone that's reading and using it. And also just to remind folks that the zine is not a substitution for professional support. And so if you are needing extra support and you don't have access to someone around you, a safe person to turn to. So you can, if you're in the States, and I believe this works in Canada as well too, you can text or call 988 for a 24/7 crisis hotline. And also you can go to findahelpline.com to look for other emergency mental health numbers in other countries. So thank you all for being here. Thanks to those who are watching this recording. And we're just so, so excited to bring our love, our experiences, our grief, and our hope to all of you, to your communities. And we hope this will be part of just one of the many tools in your toolkit in in serving you in the very important work that you're doing in the world. So thank you Thank you so much to everyone.